Yes, that's the sound.
Okay. So you're back with us this week. Dunbar is still moving houses.
Yep.
And we're going to kick right into it to talk about Kareem and Talabat and food delivery first, because we were talking about that. We'll get to the main topic.
Yeah.
We were talking about that before we went on the air, and you said, am I like married to one particular application? Mm-hmm. I said yes, that I used Kareem, which for those people who don't know, Kareem is like Grab or sort of a more ramped up version of Uber. Yeah. But now you use Talabat. Now you switched up, and we were talking about what causes friction.
Yeah.
In using that. So, and I was curious, you jump around, so you don't have it. And I said, friction for me was not downloading the application. And then I stopped because I wanted to do this on the air.
Yeah.
But what do you think the actual friction part is for me? And I'm curious if you would have the same.
Well, I think in terms of those kind of delivery services, there are multiple things that will get people sticky, right? So the first thing probably is the UX and the first kind of experience from the minute you say, I want my pizza, to the minute the door rings. So if this is super smooth, that's great. But also there is the added value of, have I bought this pizza with the best value for money? Is anybody else offering this pizza for cheaper? Am I having a promo code? So probably not only the convenience and the speed of service, but also the value of money, because, well, Pizza Hut or Papa John's or whatever pizza place you're ordering from, it's also on the other platforms. So why would I pay 100 for something that will probably cost 60?
So actually none of that enters my mind.
Great. Tell me more.
The only thing that sort of enters my mind is like, would the user experience be worse? Most of the time with these applications, I find them roughly the same. The one thing that I will say for user experience, when there's an error, how they recover from it, right? So we can come back to that. It is signing up. It is giving my email to another service, because all I can think is, how much more spam mail am I going to get to this? So it actually has nothing to do with any of the promo codes, the money saving, any of that. It's just, I have another service that's going to email me now.
Yeah.
And that's it. If I could trust companies to not sell my email or not pass it on, I think I would sign up so quick. And I'll give another example. I normally in the mornings, I wake up, I for long-time listeners, I wake up super early, wake up at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., and I go to a 24-hour cafe, Pete's. However, I wanted to try a Starbucks roastery, which is also open 24 hours. So I went there this morning. I sat down, I open up to get Wi-Fi, and the first thing is put your email in so you get the OTP. If it's just the email, then you make up an email.
Of course.
But otherwise for the OTP, now I'm like, nope. And I will sit there every single day at Pete's and spend 100 dirham, right? 80 to 100 dirham on coffee, on a croissant. And all I can think is like, okay, well, I'm right back there, right? They made it sticky because of that situation.
Yeah. And also, if you can think about it, like, why are those delivery services asking for email? All what they really need is your phone number, so that the driver can contact you if they cannot find your villa or house or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, some services are over asking for stuff.
Totally.
They don't need that, right?
Well, I mean, especially for Wi-Fi, that drives me nuts, where it's just like, why? Because I know it is not for Starbucks getting that, right? It is for the white label solution that plugged in the Wi-Fi for them to get it and them to sell it onwards. And I know most people will say, well, just get a junk email. I'm like,
Most people do that.
Yeah, I know. It's another thing to manage. And I live with few possessions, few things, and I want to keep my digital life somewhat that way. So that was our offshoot. But we did talk about before, we had a topic to get into today. And I think this is great to have you on, because you will be much more knowledgeable than myself, than Dunbar. So this might be mostly me interviewing you. After last week's episode, we were at the elevator catching up, and we were talking about AI, and that AI right now is pretty much all Western, right? Everything is, for the most part, English. Everything is crafted or created by the US, some Europe, some China, right? But nothing in the Middle East. And you brought up and said that there is efforts to develop an Arabic LLM. or sort of, I don't even know how to say, like a culturally Arab or Arabic language AI model.
Yep.
And you said it would, like, there could be such a difference in that. This is one of those things that I'm not knowledgeable about. So I wanted you to take us on that journey of what would be so different about that.
So let's zoom out of the data set that was training all those LLMs that currently every company are training their own models. The data set is mostly the internet, and the internet, whether it's YouTube or the rest of the data, it's been probably developed in the past 30 years, mostly in the Western countries, mostly in the US, a lot of really great content out there. But in terms of bias, the way people are speaking, the way people are addressing each other, the way the content is being produced is probably being biased. Because if we say the majority of the content is Western heavy, I think that would be a safe assumption. So in terms of the Arabic-based content, the Arabic content that's out there that we can train our own LLMs, or we can train the OpenAI LLM or Gemini or Grok or whatever, this probably, it's not only on the language, but the cultural nuances and how those differences in how you address people, what are the key things that you shouldn't or should do in this culture, in this context, in this part of the world. That is something that's probably worrying me sometimes, because you can say, okay, I want to translate this website, I want to localize this website, but probably the OpenAI or ChatGPT will just spit out the translation, but not really a localized version.
The literal translation.
The literal translation, yes. But not something that's really localized. There are a bunch of really good examples, like Intella, for example, one of the companies that are trying to do something about this. It's getting there. Probably it's doing a very good strides. But the other problem that we are also facing here in the Arab region is the dialects. So there is no one-size-fits-all kind of Arabic. If you speak, for example, in the Egyptian dialect and the Lebanese dialect and the Khaliji and the GCC dialect, they are totally different. And let's take a use case of a transcript AI, something that will just say, this is everything that was being said in a meeting, and this is the transcript, and this is the summary, similar to all the tools that we're currently using. If you have a bunch of Egyptians speaking in that meeting, most probably the AI will spit out a lot of things that are wrong. Because
I'm glad you as an Egyptian said that, not me.
As an Egyptian, I will tell you, there is a lot of expressions, there is a lot of words that others, even Arabs, don't understand what's going on.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure. Because
we had breakfast, was it yesterday? 2 days ago?
2 days ago, yeah.
And you said something that I thought was sort of hilarious, which was, and correct me if this is Egyptians or if this is like from an Arab dialect or if this is just from a conversational point of view, but people will say things that sound confident and like fact, but are not. And like, just elaborate on that.
It takes one to know one. So that's the great thing about being Arab. And you understand that the person in front of you is saying a lot of things with a lot of confidence, and he's telling you, the company is focusing on XYZ because XYZ. But in reality, that's an assumption. That's your point of view, but you're saying it as a fact.
Is that a country-based? Like, is that an Egyptian thing or an Arab thing? And I don't want to drag you into a stereotype too much.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I think it's very, very dangerous to stereotype, but I think it's an Arab thing in general, that we tend to say things in absolute, and we tend to say things as facts. Like, this is exactly how it is. This is the problem with my users. I know my users very well. I know that they are facing a big problem in onboarding. And then when you dig a little bit deeper into that, probably the onboarding flow that you just mentioned in Kareem or whatever delivery app, you dig a little bit deeper, telling them, okay, tell me the data. How many people are dropping off during onboarding? Show me the drop-off funnel. Show me how many people are placing orders in their first session. And they don't have data to back that statement up. So this is where the cultural nuances, and it gets one to know one kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think this is something that I've personally struggled with since moving here, because a lot of times I will have conversations. I found this will be like more on the Arab male side that sound very much like I am telling you this, like this is, as you said, this is truth. And I'll be listening thinking like, the hell are you talking about? That's not true at all. Like what? And it's so funny because coming from, at least, I don't want to say the US, because I think there's plenty of like alpha male people in the US who have the same exact tone. On my side, I'm always like, well, maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe I'm incorrect. And so I listen to somebody else, and what you just said gives me so much nuance that it may just be a way of speaking, not a way of thinking.
Probably.
And why where I'm tying this back into is we go back into the AI side of that. Like I only know one way of thinking and speaking for the most part, which is in English and culturally Western.
Yeah.
If I brought what we just said over to AI, would I have an AI bot telling me something, like if it's speaking in Arabic, or if it was talking to me, that would have a tone that sounded confident and truthful, but that was just coming through because of the localization of it. And it's like, would that cause the same confusion that I'm having here when I first showed up for the first 6 months or 1 year?
Probably. But also we know that the English AI has been hallucinating for the past couple of years, and it's telling like pseudo facts as if they are truths. And that's the whole thing about Elon Musk pushing for truth, absolute truth with Grok, and say things as they are, rather than also the sycophantic nature of AI, because it's trying to be your friend. It's telling you and tiptoeing around the conversation, and it's trying to tell you what you need to hear. So being sycophantic, I think that's a universal thing in AI in general. But going back to the Arabic-based AI, well, garbage in, garbage out, or great stuff in, great stuff out. It depends on the data set and how much we are feeding it. And the body of knowledge, it's out there, but it's not as compared to everything else in the other languages and culture.
So I don't know anything about literature that's written in Arabic. So I'm going to generalize, and you please correct me and bring me back on where I could be wrong on this. What I am most familiar with is what I will call a tribe-based culture, or more of a seniority-based culture, right? Where seniority sort of dictates who is running things to an extent. What you just said about AI in the Western world, where it's like a buddy that's trying to help you, right? And I've seen this firsthand, because I'll literally get answers that I know are wrong. I'm like, but this is wrong. And then it'll correct itself like, oh, sorry, you're right. Yeah. It's like, but in that case, would AI act as the things that we've been talking about in this podcast, where it's a coach, which may be somebody traditionally more senior who's helping you, a co-pilot, which is a partner, or more like an intern or an assistant, which is then beneath you? Like, does that ever come into the conversations with how somebody may work with AI within sort of GCC or the Arab world?
100%. And I think...
Okay, because that would never enter my brain from Western side. So I'm super curious. So expand, please.
So I think it would be depending on the topic itself. So for example, the topic of user experience design. Let's compare every single piece of literature that's been written about UX design. It's always been in English.
Yeah. Even, I think I've only ever heard one podcast in Arabic, or about one for user experience.
And even the terminologies that we're using, it's very rare to find anyone in the Arab world not even knowing those terminologies in English, but in Arabic, sometimes they don't even have translation, or they are not even used if that translation is being used. So for example, information architecture, how it's being translated in terms of تنظيم المعلومات. Okay, no one is using this Arabic translation. Or UX design, it's تجربة المستخدم أو تصميم تجربة المستخدم. So you are translating those, and I can see some initiatives. People are trying to speak in Arabic and putting podcasts in Arabic and putting blog posts in Arabic, but it doesn't resonate. It doesn't sound like the same thing. So if you train the AI model on that body of data, on that specific topic, I'm not talking about medicine, engineering,
just user experience,
just user experience in our field, the AI can be a co-pilot, but probably based on the normal biases in the language that it's been trained on, right? So it will not tell you from that side of the world, this is how تجربة المستخدم أو UX design is. It will tell you how it's been trained from here and then translate it rather than from the ground up in terms of literature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think that is unique to Arabic. And like I lived in Amsterdam and Netherlands for over 10 years. And what I always found comedic was my Dutch colleagues would know how to present UX work in English, but not in Dutch.
Yeah.
And they would be like, I don't even know what the words for, like information architecture is. We just always present in English.
Yep.
And it always, like, it boggled my mind. I'm like, this is your country, and yet you still present in English. I mean, for me, it was wonderful, but also I sort of felt like, wow, that's weird. And then I think about like the closest thing that I might have to a second language is Korean, and how many Korean words are just English words in the Korean alphabet. And I can literally look at something, because Korean words to me sound so much different than a word in English spelled out in the Korean alphabet. So I can like read a movie poster and be like, okay, I don't quite know the word, but I know it's an English word. Right. So, okay, let me figure this out. And then it'll take me like a few readings. Oh, it's that thing. Right. But I don't think so. I don't think that's unique to Arabic, but it is something I haven't necessarily thought too much about in terms of the personality of a discipline, and where does that personality sit, and how does that affect even the way that you talk about it or have a conversation about it?
Yeah. And I think it's a global thing, because for the past 20, 30, 40 years, the whole world in terms of globalization has been using English as the first language, right? And even in Arabic, in Egypt, for example, and in the whole Arab world, you can always type in English Arabic words, and we're using the letters in terms of the English letters, but we're saying an Arabic world, right?
Yeah. So you can do the same with Japanese and Korean and Chinese.
Similar
and stuff.
to what you mentioned about that movie poster. And well, I was really amazed to see AI understanding this. That was a good move. It was a really good move. The AI, and by the way, Google Translate has been doing it even before ChatGPT came out.
I shouldn't be surprised. It makes total sense because so many people write foreign language words in English in the English alphabet. And
when you train the AI on this, but this is not the language we use in like official and proper presentations or in our letters or as a blog post. It's very rare to see people using this. It's either proper Arabic or not. And by the way, the Arabic itself, there is 2 or 3 branches of Arabic. So there is something called MSA, which is the Modern Standard Arabic, which is almost the same Arabic that news presenters are using.
Okay, and more of a formal.
Proper formal. Okay. But on that formal spectrum, there is extreme formal, which is Fusha. And Fusha is the language of Quran, the language of the proper Arabic, but we're not going to use this in our daily life. And we neither use the language that's being presented in the news in daily life. We're using the slang in our daily life. So which Arabic will the AI get trained on? And this is where those kind of curiosity in terms of like, how do I know that this is an actually Arabic recommendation from the AI rather than an English translated recommendation? You know what I'm saying?
Well, what's so interesting from what you just said is based on the way an AI model would talk to me, would it change the conversation I had with it? So if it was talking to me, like you said, in a very formal way, would that make me think, oh, this must be somebody more senior, right? And the only reason I'm saying that is I'm tying it back to Korean, where there's like informal, sort of regular, and then formal, right? Or I forget the actual proper words for that. But almost nobody uses like the really formal side unless you're talking to like a CEO or president or something like that, or like I can't even remember if newscasters do. But just based on that, would you start to change the way that you speak or interact? If the AI starts talking to you in a very formal way, would you be like, oh, I need to be polite to this, versus if it's speaking in more of a slang way, you're just like.
That's actually a very interesting question.
I hadn't thought about it until you brought it up.
Yeah. So in the HCI, in human-computer interaction, if the computer is speaking to me in a formal language, would I step up my game and get my act together and start to speak in a proper language?
Would you treat it like a professor versus a fellow student?
Most probably, depending on what we're talking about. And also that tone of voice. If I'm asking a very formal or a very important question, like I want to understand the theory of relativity. And if the AI is spitting out the answer in a very slangish manner and the tone of voice is absolutely terrible, I wouldn't trust this. So the tone of voice is the first step of trusting what's being said.
That's a good one. Okay.
So that element, whether in English or Arabic, doesn't matter.
Okay. So we just know from ChatGPT 4 to 5, they tried to go for a little bit more, like, I'll say less colloquial or less sort of like buddy and a little bit more formal. And then a lot of people didn't like it. They liked no, give me convenience, right?
Yep.
Like, don't like, so I don't know, maybe everything just goes back to that. We all want to be lazy
but also it goes back to your three use cases: the co-pilot, the tutor, and the intern that does stuff to
coach. I only say that because I feel like there is a little bit more of seniority with a coach versus a tutor is like a peer helper, I tend to think.
Fair. As a coach, it should have a trustworthy tone of voice as well as the information it's presenting to you. But if it's someone who is getting an errand done for you, I think it's okay for it to be using the same English tone of voice, the normal language.
I guess what's funny is you, myself, I can imagine most people listening, we have generally like one personality, but we may dial things up or 100%. Down depending on where we are.
Yeah.
When I go into work, I tend to be obviously a little bit more professional, although coworkers may question that. When I'm with my friends, obviously more relaxed. I wonder if we would accept an AI in the same way, that there's like one AI that I interact with that changes based on what I'm talking about, or if we as people wouldn't trust that because somebody, an AI that talks to us in slang, if it starts talking to us formally, we're sort of like, what? Like what? Like, do you need a multitude of personalities, even if it's all on the back end, the same thing, to feel comfortable and to trust talking to it? Because what you just said. Yeah.
Would you trust the machine that keeps morphing into different personas? Contextually, we are not changing our personalities. We're just changing the way we're presenting information depending on the context.
Yeah,
But your expectation from a machine that it should be consistent. It should, I don't know. I think it's a beautiful question. I personally wouldn't trust the machine that every time I speak to it, it presents itself in a chameleon manner. I wouldn't trust it that much. I want it to be consistent.
I tend to think the same. But like and I guess at the same time, that's why now that I'm in the position that I'm in, I don't go out with colleagues and get wasted, right? When I like 20 years ago, when I first started, you'd go out with your colleagues and get wasted. And then, things start to adjust and change as you progress your career. I mean, also 20 years ago, like
you had the liver to do it.
not drinking anymore. But I think there is something there that you want to preserve an image with certain people. And if you're thinking like that, and if you saw your colleague falling down drunk vomiting, you'd sort of be like, oh,
yeah,
huh. Okay, like maybe I don't want to take your advice the next day, even though it has nothing to do with anything. It's just the perception, right?
It happened to me many times. Yeah. Sometimes I'm the sober one in parties. I'm the sober one in the parties, and I'm driving my drunk boss back home. And it's weird and awkward.
So
you have to see him tomorrow for a big presentation after what had happened yesterday.
Brings up a whole thing when I was working in China and working in Asia, and then you do see your colleagues like falling down drunk, but then it is part of the culture, and you're like, oh, that's almost a positive thing. Yeah. Culture is confusing.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's why you're here to answer all these questions that I have for you. But sorry, you were about to say something. Go for it.
No, I was going to go back to the AI piece and how you trust the AI and in terms of morphing and changing its tone of voice. And one thing that popped in my head right now, which is the whole OpenAI and Johnny Ives collaboration on an appendix kind of tool or product.
Appendix or appendage?
Appendage, sorry.
Okay. All right.
Not appendix, sorry. Appendage piece of hardware, probably hardware, that will have AI in its form, ambient form, around you all the time. Imagine if it speaks in the same tone of voice every single time. I don't think that would be good. It should be contextual. So if I'm in a meeting, if I'm in a presentation, I just need this 2 words in my ear right now to help me finish my thought. The AI should be quick into training this or giving this, versus the context when I need someone to probably peer review my work or someone to get a contract written 0 to 1, and then I will add to that contract or add to that writing. So I believe that AI can morph and change depending on the context, but the tone of voice, I think it should stay consistent. It shouldn't be funny all the time, or it shouldn't be formal all the time.
I mean, I guess probably most of us do have that one friend that is both the friend that you go to the bar with, the friend that you get advice from, the friend that you confide in, right? Like one of your closest friends, which then gets to also be that moment of like, how close do you want AI? And what you just said, if it is like an appendage where it is sort of, circling around you. Was it you last week that we were talking about, could I live without my phone for a day?
Yeah, we picked it up last week.
And so I was thinking, if you're like 20, maybe you can't. Now I start to think, if you have this whatever this new device is, where AI is sort of around you, always there as like this second brain or extension, do you get to a point where, in theory, you can live without your phone? Is there a point in 10 or 20 years where you just can't live without this other thing because you just don't know how? Like, I'm trying to figure out how to describe this, but if you are from the point of 2 or 3 years old, always having something that helps you with like, how do I do this? How do I solve this? That it is always there at all times. And you rip that out from somebody who has grown up with that.
Yeah.
Are they just a vegetable, not because they are, in a coma, but because they just literally do not know what to do?
Probably yes.
I was hoping you were going to say something different, but no. I was like, probably.
Yeah, probably yes, because I'm from the generation who used to calculate things without the need of a calculator sometimes, especially at school. It was prohibited sometimes to bring the calculator to the exam until probably high school, when they started to open up to this. And also, I remember my childhood, I would remember all the phone numbers of all my friends. Can you now tell me your top 5 people that you know by heart, their actual phone numbers?
I still remember phone numbers from my childhood, and if I lost my phone, I wouldn't know that my literally like my best friends in life, I would have no clue what their phone number is.
There you go. So it's about the muscle that you train, and the more we start outsourcing some of our muscles to AI, if that AI went down, are we a vegetable? Back to your analogy. So I still believe that, of course, humans need augmentation in some sort of fields, but the right thing is for the human to stand in their own 2 feet and use the full capacity of their brains, rather than keep outsourcing until this muscle atrophies.
Yeah. Well, I'll take it back to something I said earlier, something that's been a running theme, which is the C is greater than, convenience is greater than anything. So it's like, even if that's the right thing and the healthy thing, how often do we see people doing the right and healthy thing in the face of discomfort? And especially as you get older, like as an adult, to start something new, to have that ability to overcome the fear of looking stupid, of setting your ego aside, or starting something new because there's going to be discomfort in mentally learning something. that to me just seems like it is going to get unbelievably worse.
100%.
And so like, do you just become a gelatinous body for whatever this AI brain is? And then, and that eventually leads you to the, what is the novel, Diaspora, where it's like, yeah, just people are sort
Probably
of
80-20.
are there. And then you have all the digital side that's like, you know, actually running the civilizations.
Probably for the majority of people, yes. But there are some people that will still drive things forward on their own. Because at the end of the day, if you're facing a complexity or a challenge and that uncomfort, humans are very inventive. They might come up with a new solution. But when you have AI in your ears telling you the existing solution, because it's backward looking, right? So it's telling you about all the things that we as humans have been doing. So if that voice is no longer in my head, I might come up with something innovative, going back to our discussion about innovation. So humans are very inventive, but if they rely on AI to invent stuff, they are just reinventing what's been invented before or what's been done before.
I have not done this, but one of the things I have wanted to do, and honestly, I am scared to do it, and this is the reason why I haven't done it, is actual fear, is the 10-day silent retreat. And I have heard from everybody that has done it that this is life-changing because you do have time to just think.
Yes.
And at the moment, that is something we sorely, sorely lack. And I am actually afraid of, being with boredom. We do not like to be bored. People, especially younger kids, like I'm okay with being bored sometimes, but again, because I remember there was times where I was waiting for my friends to come home and it would be 3 or 4 hours before they got home. So I just have to like wander around the house or like sit in a chair or do whatever, right? We don't have that anymore. You have instant entertainment, and it will only get more and more instant with all the AI stuff that can create things just for you. And so what you just said is the natural byproduct of that, an atrophy of innovation, because you do not have time to think. And it will be, I'll go into the sort of class system here. Like you always hear about people who are more well off or more well educated, that they are waiting to give their kids screens or they're limiting screen time. It's like, does this continue to exacerbate the class situation where people of lesser means or lesser education are going to rely on these devices for whatever reason? People are going to then, when you said the innovative side, take advantage of that and create systems that play right into that, so that, again, the 2% will just control the 98%. So,
probably, yes.
Yeah. And I was hoping you were going to say like, no, and then, like we'll have some utopian solution and we'll be like, no. And you're just like, nah, people, we're all dead anyway.
Well, it's not that dystopian, but I feel like with this advent of technology, there is a very important question when the 80-90% of the people are going towards that direction. Would it make sense for people to vote in elections? Because probably they are uninformed, or they are being informed with the same source of that news.
This is a classic thing, right? It's like, does everybody need a voice? Because most people, like, I mean, look at how much flat Earth we got now, right? Probably, it's like, I did my own research. Yeah, cool. Like, I read more than most people, but I'm still not a doctor by any means. Like, I've probably read 10 books on longevity and like health. But God knows that does not make me an expert comparatively to someone who has spent 6, 8, 10 years studying to be a doctor. That is such a massive difference. But then you think you like what is it like the most dangerous situation is someone with a little bit of knowledge?
Who are very confident.
Speaking confidently. Speaking Arabic?
Speaking Arabic mainly. Yeah, probably that.
Take us home. We got to wrap up. I'll give you the last word. Say something fun. Say something that is not so dystopian that we're all just crashing and burning and we may as well just give up now.
No, I think the future is good if we have to rely on devices to make our lives entertaining, our lives bearable, our lives comfortable and we're not relying on each other, we're not having that kind of human touch, that to me is dystopian. But humans are inventive. I still believe in that. And also in our field, the more you start in terms of design, product, and tech, the more you start to outsource all the stuff to AI, your design muscle will atrophy, your product thinking muscle will atrophy. You know, right now there is in the field like a PRD that's 17 page long written by AI and a designer using AI to summarize that PRD. This is this is the mess we're in.
Boring crap.
Boring crap, and probably it's not really factual, or if it's factual, it's not really well presented. So the human in the middle is still important. The future is human. AIs are there just to make the boring faster or make things more efficient and effective, but you cannot remove the humans from the equation, right?
You're killing me. So because there's so much to unpack here. Dunbar is back next week. Maybe we can get you on again next week because we did not get into the topic of specifically innovation in GCC. Both of us work in user experience. I think that's a great topic we can bring on next week. Is how do we think about innovation within GCC and what are the sort of levers that we were talking about that are being built to bring innovation here and what's that spurring. So
fantastic.
Good to talk to you again.
Thanks, Joe.
Talk to you hopefully next week.
Inshallah. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.